Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Midas Letter Live. We are here broadcasting to you from the Exchange Tower. I'm here with my co-host, Ed Milewski. Welcome, Ed.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Well, I'm good, but I think, today's the infamous 9/11 day.
18 years ago.
Yeah, do you remember where you were?
I was in high school, and
Jesus.
They rolled out one of those big TVs. Remember those?
Yeah, remember them. Duh.
They rolled it out.
I remember the days when we didn't have TV.
They rolled it out, and for the whole day, people really didn't know what was going on. There were, one plane, two plane.
I know. It was confusing
tough day.
initially.
Every year, this is a tough day for a lot of people.
It's got to be. It's got to be, and especially if you're a New York City resident.
Yeah.
I remember watching it, and I remember, a couple things. I think of the firemen that had to go up those stairs.
The first responders.
The first responders, thinking they probably were going to their death. They had to think that, and yet, carrying. And I mean, you ever try walking up the stairs? Just walking up the stairs?
Yeah.
Let alone with 50 pounds of equipment on you? Like
the bravery. It's incredible.
I was watching CNBC, and Mark Haynes, who is, I think, now passed, and he said, they were having a discussion, and somebody said something in his earpiece and said, yeah, we got to just shoot over to the World Trade Tower.
Right.
There's something going on there. And they had a shot of a window that looked like, and my memory's not perfect, obviously, but you didn't know that a plane had hit. And then the thing just getting bigger and bigger, and it's bizarre.
I think that's one of those memories that for everyone it's kind of burned into their head where they were, what was happening, and when you kind of think back, you feel some of that emotion that you had at that same day.
Yeah, and there's I'll tell you how I thought it was so significant that I went down to the bank machine and took out about $10,000 in cash. Or went to a bank just to have the cash, because I thought this may be maybe all the power is going to go down. Like you don't know what was going to happen, right?
I think you're in the same boat. A lot of people went to the bank right away and took out at least enough to get by for a little while, because there's uncertain times.
Yeah, and there's that bond company, Cantor Fitzgerald, that was in one of the top towers.
Right.
But the main guy, for whatever reason, wasn't there that day. Mm-hmm. So he obviously was able to talk about, and he did a lot to help the families. And that's got to go down as one of America's darkest days. In terms of, I'm 1,500 people. Or I can't remember the amount. Maybe I don't want to belittle it at all.
Well, it's certainly an event that stands out in history and will never be forgotten.
And then when the first tower went down, and you saw it, like you saw the thing crumble. It was like, how they take buildings down.
Right.
It looked like an explosion of a building that they're trying to take down.
Right.
But you're speechless.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, we've got a good show today. On a somber note, but we're going to be going through the news with Suzanne Garcia's here. We've got yourself. We're going to be doing a good chunk of time on some charts.
Yeah, we're going to look at a number of charts. Look at,
And we've got Alessandro Bruno. I'm going to have a chat with him a little later with our conversation around John Bolton's firing.
Right.
Was he fired? Was he let go?
Yeah.
Did he resign? But Alessandro has a lot to say. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think I'm looking at the major things here, like the major indices. Like we're up in the Dow today, up on the equities, but not a lot. But we're up. It's grinding higher. Gold's up a little bit.
Yeah, I see that.
And interest rates, bonds are stronger again. You know, we got I think the yield on the 10-year got down to 142. Today it's 172.
Is that right?
It's 172. 142 last week sometime. Very dangerously close to the all-time low yield.
Right.
And low yield at this stage is not good. Like, they'd like reasons for rates to go up so that people can feel like, hey, things are booming, right? And we're not getting that. We're not getting that yet. Maybe we'll get it. Anyway.
When we get into the section where we're going to go through the charts, maybe you'll have some insights as to help some of our viewers figure out what they should be doing. Let's go to the news.
Let's go to the news.
Here's what's making cannabis news this September 11, 2019. Canada House Wellness Group has entered into a funding agreement for the issuance of convertible securities for gross proceeds of up to $14.6 million. At the closing, the company will issue a convertible security to the investor with a face value of $3.1 million. The first convertible security will have a term of 24 months and be convertible into common shares at a price per share of 8 cents. Canopy Rivers announced the formation of its Strategic Advisory Board. The group consists of business leaders that will provide guidance to Canopy Rivers' executive team as it continues to build and strengthen the company's global portfolio of leading cannabis companies. Emerald Health Therapeutics and HelloMD, an online cannabis healthcare company, have announced a partnership to further streamline and enhance Emerald's patient onboarding experience. Emerald has integrated HelloMD's turnkey virtual services and patient onboarding solutions into its program for medical cannabis patients. Nutritional High International announced a distribution relationship with District 11, a licensed cannabis company, through its wholly owned subsidiary, Calix Brands. Calix will help launch and distribute the St. Ides brand of pre-rolled tobacco-free blunts to its network of nearly 600 retailers throughout the state of California. True Trace Technologies announced that Tilray Canada has joined the Shoppers Drug Mart Medical Cannabis Verification Pilot Program. The pilot program is designed to increase transparency, interoperability, and product identification within the medical cannabis industry. Shoppers recently announced the successful completion of Phase 1 of the pilot program and the addition of Deloitte Canada in a project management and advisory role to execute Phase 2. Westleaf Inc. announced the opening of its first Alberta retail location. Calgary residents have the chance to experience a new spin on cannabis retail through an immersive and inclusive in-store environment. And that's your news for today. To keep up on all cannabis news, visit Cannabis Daily at MidasLetter.com.
Thanks, Suzanne. So it's chart time.
Yeah. So I think, I'd like to talk about the bond market a little bit more than we have over the last, prior to your, we've usually been talking about the marijuana space when it was.
Spent a lot of time talking about marijuana.
But there's the debt in the world is the most it's ever been every time you mention it. In other words, it just keeps growing and growing.
Right.
So the world interest rate thing is wild. The rates are artificial. It looks like in Europe.
Okay.
I'm just okay. So look at. So I wanted to put up a chart here.
We'll get your computer all set up there.
Yeah, let's get it set up. I guess I forgot to.
I'm going to look at the YouTube group here. If you don't know, we've got a great chat room. This show is being broadcast live. And if you head over to YouTube, you can join the chat room. We've got people here every day. Faye Smith is here, Reefer Al joined, hello, Zippity Doodah, always something nice to say. Rav Singh is here, Carl Bowden, and a couple others. So welcome everyone.
Okay, so we got the 10-year chart up. I like to believe we're going to see, there it is, okay. And I keep hearing the guys in the control room in my ear, so I'm going to pull that out for a minute. But what I want to point out here on this, I think this is.
What do you got up there?
This is a 10-year, this is the 10-year yield.
Okay.
Okay, so 10-year yield, it's a 3-month chart. And here we go. So today we're totally outside the Bollinger Band. We've got a sort of a doji looking candle, and but we're outside the band. The bands have narrowed. So we may be now range bound for a while. I kind of doubt that. Unless something that I don't know about happens, it looks to me like maybe, if you're looking to go into a bond here, you might want to do it now. But the point is, rates were 142 a few days ago. They're now like 172, 174 in that range. Quite a bit of a bump, and that would probably be right across the board, regardless of what jurisdiction you're in.
Okay.
So rates are moving up. We looked at Deutsche Bank yesterday. It's had a nice run, 30% in the last few weeks, and that's because rates are rising. And if rates keep dropping, the European banks are in big trouble. They can't make any money in a negative rate environment. Okay. Now I'm going to take a look today at the S&P just to get a flavor for. Just to get a flavor of. I just did something here I didn't want to do.
Did you know that we're only 35 subscribers away from our 20,000 milestone?
Say it ain't so.
I'm telling you the truth.
You're not blowing smoke up my ass.
I've got it up on the screen here.
If you were smoking doobies and blowing smoke up my ass, I'd know about it, right?
Not at the moment.
I'd get high in reverse or something like that. Okay, so
that's exciting. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do us a big favor and hit the subscription link somewhere on your screen and hit the bell. What the bell does, do you know what the bell does, Ed?
The bell goes ding, 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 and it means you're in.
It notifies you. When we have a live show and we put an update out, you get a notification, and that makes it easy to stay informed.
Really?
So you never miss a show.
Really? So here, we got the S&P 500 up now.
Okay.
And yesterday, if you recall, we talked to Dan, the charting man, and he said that we were range bound. Well, stop before. Here we go. We were range bound here. Look at this, and we talked about this in the show. There's clearly a channel there, or support resistance, and we went there for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, roughly a month. And what I'm talking about is we didn't really go anywhere. And then, actually, even to here. So there's my little extension, like on the fake.
When it's moving like that, what do you want to do? Do you want to just sit back and wait?
Yeah.
Just
look at if you're a technical
relax.
guy, you're waiting for direction.
Yeah.
So a move below, you'd maybe go put on a short position somehow.
Right.
And a move above, you maybe go long.
So we're entering a new box.
So look at this. So the last week we broke out, and we're moving. We're there's only 5 days here. Let me just. I'm going to back this up a bit because I think. Just a minute. Wait for it. Okay.
I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm not the fastest guy in the. I used to be a lot faster.
But the sharpest knife in the drawer?
Well, I'd like to think I am, but obviously I'm full of shit. Okay. So yeah, we're here we are. We've broken out of this pattern. But we're not really going, we're breaking out, but we're moving up slowly. Like here we are up here. This is sort of the breakout area.
Is that a 5-year?
No, this is a 10 day.
10 day.
Oh, you were close. That wasn't fair. I wasn't trying to be. We got to have a little banter here, a little excitement. The market broke out of that range, and I asked Dan. I said, "Would you, what?" He said, "Well, listen. Until the bears can show me otherwise, you got to go long now because we've broken to the upside. You break a pattern, it's a signal to go long, and you stay long. You stay long until the other side shows you that you're wrong. Okay, so we're up a bit." But, today being the day it is, and it's a somber day, I don't know if you can read too much into too much what's going on. I'm sure a lot of people are taking the day off. A lot of people are probably looking back,
Yeah, you don't hear too many stories about
this is not a day
how
to
somebody really cashed in on such a day, right? But business continues.
Now I was looking at. Okay, I just did it again. But this machine seems to be working real fast now. I want to look at some of the marijuana stocks that I've noticed earlier.
Okay.
And the one that I really am sort of watching a lot more closely is True Leaf. TRUL is the ticker. And if you look at that, and we're going to get the ticker up here in a minute, it's got the 31 dispensaries, and it's got that lady, name escapes me right now, but she was on the show interviewed by Nicodomi.
Right.
And they're running that business like a real business. And here we go. I got to remember not to.
Nicodomi's here with us. Hello, Nika. I want to throw a question out to the group there. We've got the charts up. If there's a company you want us to look at, trying to get my words straight here, then feel free to use the chat room to ask a question, and if we have time, maybe we'll get to it. What do you think?
Yeah.
Fair?
Absolutely.
There's always so much activity going on.
Here we go.
Everyone's trying to get a little tip.
So here's a chart. Now this is a 6-month chart of truth. So interestingly enough, I can show you something that over the years I'm not saying this is my invention here, but if you look, you got it's a very discernible downward trend here over the last 5 months up until this point. And you can see we're in a pretty, I haven't drawn that perfectly, but the channel there is...
I'd say it's good enough.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But then we accelerated to the downside.
Yeah.
Right there. In other words, we broke that channel to the downside. And usually when you've got a downward channel and you break it again to the downside, maybe that's a bit of a selling climax. And sure enough, we've now rallied back here from that point, which was around $10, and we're now sitting at about $12.50, which is there, which is a pretty good move for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we got a 25, and I'm not suggesting that it's easy to pick these moves, but if you've got a system and you say this, say that, hey, 25% move in 10 days is pretty good. So this is one of the companies that the consensus is this is a well-run company that's focusing on building a business in the state of Florida.
Well, they've got revenue, they're making sales, they've got the retail is a pretty important aspect to that, right? You got to be able to get your products to consumers.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned BAM earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it's up
BAM
19
is at the top
cents.
of
Look at
that
this
chart on the screen there. 17.27% change.
I'm going to get that up. But
moving up. Let's see what the rest of the information looks like.
BAMM /CNX. Okay, here we go. Look at this. Look at this. So this thing, I remember my friend saying to me, he said, "Look at this thing. This thing is on a rocket ship." This goes back 6 months, but look at this move. And that's I would call that an exponential move, because you've gone from basically 50 cents to $3.60, 7 times your money in a period of a couple of months. Okay? And then we got obviously a break, right?
Yeah.
And then a claw back, but then slowly lower, and then grinding, and then you get to a point where, again, something here has changed, because we've now moved from about 75 cents to $1.30. That's about a 70 or 80% return from here.
And it
But-
looks like it's starting to take that same shape as it did earlier.
Yeah, I would,
Got that,
I
little
would,
bit of a ramp up.
a bit of a ramp up, but I'll tell you, this was a much different, headier time, 6 months ago.
Right.
There's a lot more froth in the system. So, I wouldn't make that bet that we're going to replicate what we but you never know. We could, 3 weeks ago, we'll come back and say, hey, Mark invested, $100,000 and he took out $1 million. Like, you know what? Anything can happen. So there's a couple charts, and
Yeah, we'll be watching that one closely.
yeah. So
Anything else on BAM?
I'm gonna look at no. That's. I mean,
That's it.
I don't know about fundamentals.
Okay. Next one. Who's next?
Yeah, we're gonna look at. I want to look at the big ETF in Canada, the HMMJ. Oh, I just did it again. I got to stop doing
What's that?
this. Well, I keep Xing out of the.
Computers, right?
Yeah.
They are tricky. I keep watching this subscription thing and
It's like watching paint dry. No.
I'm waiting for it to move.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well,
Slowly.
maybe
What's that?
you need to make some phone calls.
yeah, I'd really like to get some questions from the group.
Yeah. You think you got some answers for
Yeah,
them?
pull up the next chart and
I'm going
as
to do it
soon
right
as
now. Here we go.
Got
Okay.
ACB.
So there you go. So this chart looks eerily similar to some of the charts we've just had, like where you'd have this is the HMMJ, the Horizons ETF. So look at that. That's definitely almost a straight line, nice discernible trend, and then it accelerated. I think earnings were starting to come out. We had an acceleration to the downside, and oversold, obviously way oversold. And since then, we've moved from about 1370, I think was the low, and we're now close to 1550. A pretty big move for an ETF. Okay, so the sector has been in a negative trend until the last 10 days, 3 weeks. And we talked about that yesterday with Dan, and he said, you look at weed, and now he's looking for a bit of a correction, and then if we can take off and beat those recent highs, we should get a pretty good run. But we've got to beat those recent highs. That's the key.
Yeah.
And we mentioned things like Canopy and Tilray, et cetera, et cetera.
What about CanTrust? A lot of rumors floating around.
Yeah, let's take a good idea. Here we go. So I'm just going to tick on this one once. There we go. Yeah, the CanTrust yesterday, their article came out and said that they may get delisted.
Delisted, and I think it was Afria that might be looking at buying up some of those assets.
Yeah.
Could
Assets.
be anyone, right?
It could be anyone, and
But
you sure? Why wouldn't you buy?
They're the name that seems to be coming up.
Well, you got to have obviously access to money and Afria.
That little detail. Yeah.
Yeah. So look at
Afria's
CanTrust.
got a few bucks.
In CanTrust, wow, I can't remember the date. I guess it must have started right here. I think that was the date it started. Is that right? Early July? Was that when it happened, or was this back in here? I can't remember. But anyway, big, straight, top left, bottom right, kind of trending line, acceleration, more down. We had this Friday afternoon, unbelievable move to the upside, but I can only guess it was short covering.
Yeah.
Somebody started a rumor.
Well, that initial decline looks a little bit like what we were seeing kind of across the board, right?
You know what? Like
So that was normal, and then
yeah, but I mean, I think
series of bad.
Well,
what happened there? Some
they
unfortunate luck, maybe.
No, they were they were growing marijuana in unlicensed rooms.
Yeah.
Health Canada said, we never gave you permission to do this. They said, well, we'll do it anyway. Well, guess what? The whole thing is, and they went to the US prior and raised a lot of money with some major banks. So I got to believe any cash that's hanging around there is cash that's going to be used to defend the lawsuits that are got to be staggering.
Right.
So I'm glad I'm not involved in that. Okay. Anyway, you talked to...
yeah, I'm going to have a conversation with Alessandra Bruno.
Right.
On John Bolton.
But beautiful. Okay, well, let's hear that.
Yeah, let's go to that. Alessandra Bruno, welcome.
Hello, Mark.
So we're going to be talking a little bit about what's been happening in the world, specifically the U.S. and John Bolton.
Yes. Yesterday, Trump fired John Bolton. Now, Bolton says he quit, but I think...
What do you think happened?
I think he fired. I think John Bolton was fired, and I think...
Really?
Yes. And I think keeping that in mind, Trump was making... sending a message to Iran in particular, and Venezuela, and perhaps even Syria, and perhaps even China. And this message is a conciliatory message. So it's a huge shift. I think Trump has hired and fired many people, particularly in the role of security advisor, which was what John Bolton held. And in fact, he had 3. John Bolton was the 3rd such advisor. But
that's a lot of advisors in such a short period of time.
Yes, not even 3 years, full years of presidency.
Right.
But I think this is, of all his firings and dealings, this is the biggest one. This is the most important one to watch, because it's a major shift.
I think that maybe it's just my opinion, but Trump was trying to get ahead of Bolton leaving. But you think the opposite, which is fine. Now, how does this, we talk a lot about cannabis. How does John Bolton's firing, does it affect cannabis at all?
Well, I can get into it. I want to discuss what John Bolton means for something else, which is gold.
What does it mean for gold?
Yeah, it means a lot for gold. It means a lot for defense stocks. And it does mean something for cannabis stocks, or at least the cannabis market in general as well, I think, because it really kicks off the 2020 campaign. I think the firing of Bolton is his big move ahead of the campaign. And so going back in order, the biggest thing I think for gold, I've been quite bullish on gold, and I remain bullish on gold, but the geopolitical push that drove gold to reach 1,500 in a couple of months since the summer is gone. I think Bolton was driving for a number of very aggressive moves by the United States. I mean, he led the United States. He put Trump into a decision to attack Iran or not within 10 minutes.
Right.
So, and Bolton wanted the attack. He spoke to an Iranian opposition group, considered not long before a terrorist group, the Mujahedin-e-Khalq, they're called, MEK, in, I believe it was in Albania. And he told them, we'll see you in Tehran next year. That was last year. I think that's out. There is no, at this point, the most important thing, Trump was sending a signal to Tehran saying, I'm ready to make a deal again.
So with Bolton gone, who steps up to make those decisions? I know Bolton was always pro going to war, bombing whoever he could get his
that's Bolton's
hands
legacy.
on. Yeah. Now that that's gone, what does it mean?
Well, it means Trump is courting the left-wing vote again. He's going back to his roots. I mean, let's be clear. Trump won the 2016 election also because he managed to get a lot of disappointed Democratic voters who were fed up with the continuous U.S. interventionist approach to foreign policy, which Hillary Clinton is the apotheosis, considering her role in Libya and so on.
Right.
So Trump has a lot of disconcerted, angry Democrats, and they were getting angry again and looking for candidates, for non-interventionist candidates within the Democratic Party. But now with this move, if he follows through, which I think the next natural step will be to renegotiate an Iran nuclear deal, the one he scrapped with Obama, essentially. The one that Obama signed and that President Trump scrapped.
Right.
I think he's going to regain those voters. So it's going to put the Democratic Party as well in a rather defensive mode. They're going to have to step up their foreign policy game. And with that also Venezuela and North Korea, all the aggressive stances against them, because something that happened last week, I think the final breaking point that Trump reached, Trump was wants to get out of Afghanistan, no matter what.
Right.
That means even essentially another Vietnam, taking a loss, because who's going to be really in charge in Afghanistan? The Taliban are the ones who are going to make a deal.
Right.
The Taliban were in 2001. Today is September 11 after. So nothing's really going to change much in Afghanistan, but Trump has had enough. So he wants to pull out. Probably Bolton disagreed, and Trump had enough with Bolton.
So Trump made a big political move, you think, by
huge move.
firing him?
Yes.
Or
big electoral
John
move.
quit. Maybe he just got tired of his mustache.
Well, a lot of people got tired of the walrus mustache, but I
You
think
think this is the last we see of John, or?
John Bolton John Bolton you will see in various talk shows.
So
because
now he's maybe a booker.
He's going to be on CNN. He's going to be on Fox, arguing against Trump's what I expect Trump will do.
So now he's becoming an adversary.
He might be
kind of
yes.
shaked out.
Yeah, and I think he'll be, and also Bolton, aggressive as he is, will have some support from the so-called neoliberals, the liberals who are in favor of America as role model or leader, but through intervention. What Trump has done is taken the Rand Paul or Ron Paul route, the conservative route, or Pat Buchanan, non-interventionist, America first, literally America first. We don't care what happens in your government. You don't bug us, we don't bug you. We're not going to, the most typical position of the America, the neoliberal position is the spreading of democracy, the idea of bringing democracy to countries that don't have it. So Libya intervention, for example. But what Trump is saying, no more of that. I am for looking after America's interests and coexisting with everyone else, regardless of what kind of government they have, whether it's democratic or dictatorial. That's not our business. And that's the signal he sent. That's the reason he was elected by those who voted, but who shifted in 2016.
While we have a few minutes left, let's just touch on legalization of cannabis.
Yes, how does this play into that? Well, I think the focus now will be on the campaign and the policy of the campaign, 2020.
The promises.
The promises. Trump, while hinting at some of his positions, has been quite rather quiet on cannabis. He has never outright said that he would not legalize. He said a couple of weeks ago, speaking on the subject, he said that he's looking at what other states are doing. So he's not opposed. And all we need is...
He's always following the money, right?
He's following the money, but he himself is not necessarily a particularly conservative person. He, in fact, he was a registered Democrat for many years. So I think he's smelling the climate, And if a couple more states, particularly if a couple more red states, so-called Republican states,
Right.
move to legalize cannabis, I think Trump will steal the carpet from the Democrats. I mean, the Democrats have a number of anti-war, pro-legalization candidates. One of them, Bernie Sanders. So he's
So as
going.
the direction of the wind changes, he's just going to jump on.
He's going to jump on that
whatever's gonna
bandwagon.
get the votes.
Yes, and the foreign policy shift has happened already. He's going to put the Democrats in a very difficult position. They're going to have to really redefine their foreign policy. That is, if he sticks to the predictions, which is to put someone much more moderate in John Bolton's place.
Do you think there's going to be a replacement soon? Because that's kind of big shoes to fill.
Well, big shoes to fill, but nobody can be as radical as John Bolton had a reputation.
Right.
He was one of the architects of the Iraq War, which Trump criticized.
Do you think this is going to be another one of Trump's insiders, that he brings someone from his network, or?
No, I think he's going to bring in a colonel. I have to admit, I forgot his name.
That's okay, don't worry about it.
But there is a colonel who, with experience and who is a technical expert. He was in charge of one of the tank battles in the first Iraq War.
Wow.
In 1991.
So whoever he brings in probably won't be as radical.
It will be a military and will not be as radical, and will be someone accustomed to taking orders rather than giving and influencing, which is what Bolton did.
And when that news comes out, what do you think that's going to do to the markets?
Well, I'm not sure that gold, I saw the gold price today, I'm not sure that the gold market have absorbed the shift that we're seeing yet. At the same time, there are financial reasons that are supporting the gold price. Financial in Europe with the potential blow up of Deutsche Bank and so on.
Right.
So we've got, but a lot of the geopolitical carpet has been pulled out for the time being, unless something radical happens outside of. At this point, I have to say it would happen outside of the White House. Whereas for the past 3 months, the aggression from coming out in the speeches from the Oval Office and from Trump's advisors were, I think, the main contributor to the gold's price.
Okay.
So we'll see. But it's something very important to watch for foreign policy, for defense stocks, for gold, other resources, and for cannabis, because what Trump is doing is taking really the democratic positions away from them. So he's playing a very good game now.
Yeah, master chess player, would you say?
I consider him a gambler, more of a poker player but who knows? He uses big leverage. He goes in, makes a big mess, lots of power, lots of dust in the air, and he uses that leverage eventually to achieve. He's in the White House after all. Who would have thought that he would be there?
So, in looking at kind of the bigger picture, what does this mean for Israel?
Yes, that is one of the other important signals that Trump has sent with the Bolton firing. And that's one of the reasons why I say gold. The geopolitical push has been temporarily pulled away, because we have an Israeli election, I believe it's next week.
Okay.
It's September 18, if I'm not mistaken. Bolton was a huge supporter of Netanyahu, the so-called hawkish Prime Minister of Israel, who has been making rather hawkish statements regarding now he wants to annex the entire the settlements in the Jordan Valley, which it's very controversial. And I think that Trump's signal is, because Bolton was very close to Netanyahu, Trump's signal is Netanyahu does not have a complete carte blanche to do what he wants anymore. So he's putting the brakes on that as well. And that, I think, is an additional signal to Iran about, I'm willing to talk business now. Let's settle some differences, and I want to hammer out a deal, just like Obama did.
So he wants to put his name on the deal.
That's why he canceled the deal. Whatever Obama did, Obama's only foreign policy achievement, let's face it, the big one, was that deal, the nuclear deal. That's the reason why Trump scrapped it. Every great leader needs a pyramid.
Right.
And
So
that's his
Obama's
big
bad,
monument.
Trump good.
Yes.
Can be as simple as that.
New deal. He's going to present it as a much better deal than Obama's, and I think
Something to talk up for this election, right?
yes. And in the Israeli election, I think without Bolton in there, I think that he's lost a little bit of American support. At least not American support will not necessarily be for granted. And I mean, the reason why that's important is because Netanyahu is going into this election facing a number of internal and personal financial and political scandals. So even it's not a given that he will win.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas, and in that light, there is another risk. It was overshadowed by other events, but in August, Israel and Lebanon came close to break out of a major war. There was a drone battle, or at least drones were downed. A couple of soldiers were killed on both sides, and so far they've been restrained. But there was the potential for another war. And what Trump is saying is, I'm not going to necessarily support you if you do that. That's what the message he's sending. So, which goes also in favor of securing another deal. So I'm seeing a number of factors coming into play, and the pinpoint, the symbol, if you will, is the Bolton firing.
That's a big trigger.
Yeah, it's a big trigger, yeah. So it's a really significant event.
Great. And as far as what happens next, do you have any predictions?
Well, my predictions are that I think Iran has understood what Trump is saying, and they've been reluctant to come to terms, but they're under economic pressure. And also, Bolton was very aggressive when it comes to China and Russia. So I think Trump will also manage to secure a trade deal with China. He understands that, apart from the foreign policy and the non-interventionist side, he needs to support the markets. So interest rates cannot be cut any more than they have. And there's so much pressure on the US Treasury with the debt going up, thanks to also the tax cuts. There's only one thing that Trump can do to boost the markets, or at least keep them at the current level, which is to secure a trade deal with China. And by securing, being in a position to make a deal with Iran and calm things down, China will be much happier as well, because they get a lot of oil from
Right.
Iran. So it's unbelievable actually how this little step can mean so much in so many different areas.
So John Bolton's gone. It's going to open up a lot of new dialogue and
Yeah,
conversation
that's what it
between the
does.
different countries that may see some opportunities to change a firm stance on some issues, right?
I see Trump trying to stabilize the markets or keep them buoyant without resorting to lowering interest rates further and putting more pressure on monetary policy. And well, let's face it, it's been an unbelievable run for the interest rates, and a very risky one too. So there are no certainties there, but at least if you break down what Trump is trying to do, I think it's pretty clear. And that's why I see a positive step for the cannabis stocks as well, because it's a new market that can be exploited.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Alessandro. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Always like to get your geopolitical updates.
Thanks.
let's talk about Aurora. Recently, your financials, you more or less delivered on
Here are the
what-
headlines moving markets today.
If you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents,
And I
you
think
get
it has a lot to do with some of these smaller names giving really.
Recreational cannabis is here. It's quite dry. So I'm going to eliminate the stocky bits.
So vape pens.
Yeah,
People are dying.
I don't use vape pens.
Neither do I.
I like to smoke a bit of weed, but
So do I.
a buddy of mine works for a pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
And he's in a specific company, and his area is like asthma and lung ailments and things
Right.
like that, and he's dealing with doctors, and
Okay.
so he has to go to conferences whereby they talk about things. They have
Right.
guest speakers, and he told me, he said some of these pens, and I don't know which ones. I don't want to get into not trying to piss on anybody's parade.
There's probably all kinds of different
Well,
high quality, low quality.
growing fast too, right?
We'll just say not all pens are created equal.
Well, and then there's one product that's marketed very, that's causing some problems for people. I think it's I don't know, but am I allowed to say the product?
I don't know.
I don't want to get sued.
Well, I'm sure someone could Google it if they really want to find it.
Anyway, yeah, there's some people that are having some issues with these things, right?
But I've heard for years, smoking kills, this kills,
I know.
that kills, everything kills, time kills.
Well, as long as it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
If it happens over the rest of your life, well, I can live with that.
Because vape pens have been around
joke.
for how long? In popularity, maybe last 5-10 years.
Certainly, the onslaught's the last 2-3 years, right? 4
Since
years.
regulation changes.
Yeah.
But so they can be problematic. Will it affect sales? I think people who like pens are going to.
So is the idea that you're theoretically only inhaling or ingesting vapor?
I don't know if that's just the name, but yeah, it burns, so you're just getting the vapors from it.
But I don't think that's happening. I think you're getting more than vapor, aren't you? I don't know.
It's invisible to the eye, so whether it's good or bad, time will tell. But there's all kinds of studies that show different results on one side or the other. Who do you believe?
So you say you're a non-user.
I don't use a vape pen.
Would our discussion, would that prevent you from using it, or is that
No. No.
Okay. You're a purist.
If
You're an
if I got a good
old
deal on
school.
one, maybe I would give it a try.
Yeah.
But I don't think in the bigger picture it's going to hurt vape sales.
Now, I have had a couple of vape pens given to me that were loaded with like hash or whatever.
Some kind of
something
oil
that's going to give you
yeah.
a buzz. And I got to tell you that if it's sitting right here, and I'm sitting there, and I say, "Hey, Mark, look over there." You look, well, it seems to me it's just too easy. Like,
I think that you nailed it on the head. The convenience of the vape pen might be, it's like some people that prefer to roll their own cigarettes or roll their own joints.
Yeah.
There's that time it takes to break it up, roll it,
Yeah.
that puts a little delay between constantly reaching for a pen.
yeah.
So maybe it increases the frequency of use.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, on a Sunday afternoon, my daughter was over, and she's in her mid. She's 26, 27 years old. Anyway,
Okay.
so a lot of her friends were over, and a lot of guys, and there's a guy there who's just finishing dental school and a capital markets guy, and these are good young fellas, and they're there's vape pens all over the place. These guys are smoking these things, and guys that don't normally smoke, they want a hit of that nicotine. And these aren't loaded with cannabis or THC or whatever. These are just nicotine ones.
Right. Which I don't know what percentage of the market is cannabis or.
But they're out there. They're popular and are out there, and it maybe a little cleaner than smoking a cigarette, right?
And they also get shared a little bit, so people get introduced to them by, hey, can I try that?
Yeah.
Because it's got,
Yeah.
the technology makes them look really cool.
Okay.
Let's look at a few charts.
Yeah, well, you know what? I wanted to bring out the fact that guess what came out with a new product today?
Who's that?
Apple.
Oh yeah,
Apple, which is a
yesterday or
yesterday, or I think
Yeah.
they might announce it. Do you know that the three biggest companies in the world right now, I think, are Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft? And I just did a little analysis of the three, and I'm surprised to learn that right now the biggest company in the world looks to be Microsoft.
Well, they've made some good moves in the last couple of years.
They're valued at
their acquisition of LinkedIn. That was huge.
Yeah,
I use LinkedIn all the time, and
yeah,
I can tell you,
Apple's valued at 980 billion. Amazon's about 900 billion, and Microsoft is a trillion and four. Yeah. Well, what was
You
that?
can't read.
What am I reading? Put my glasses on. So the point is, these three companies are worth $3 trillion. Now, I don't know if people realize how much a trillion is, but it's 1,000 billion. Okay?
1,000 billion.
1,000 billion. So you got a billion.
Carry the one.
You got 2 billion, 3 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion. You counted 1,000 billion, and you say, I'm not going to call it 1,000 billion. I'm going to call it a trillion. Now, what's a billion? It's 1,000 million. So a trillion is a billion million.
You almost lost me, Ed.
No, but that's one of my four.
Three lenses on a camera. Is
Yeah.
that too much? That's the new three
a million
cameras.
billion. I'm surprised people aren't saying, "Wow, a million billion." Anyway,
At this rate, we're going to have a phone with
how many lenses on this camera?
3.
And why would they need three?
I guess
Maybe 3D.
one camera is what you actually look like, and then
What? You mean
there's
they
like-
take a picture of you and you don't look like that?
No,
Okay, go ahead.
this is technology, Ed.
So this is
One's for
okay.
Instagram, one's for Facebook, and one's for Snapchat. I don't know.
I don't even know what Snapchat is.
You're not on there?
No, I'm tired of being on stuff. I've got a few things. I got a little bit of LinkedIn action, a little bit of Twitter action. I don't want to be on anything. I'm done. I'm done.
Fair enough. I was looking at the chat room.
I want to put up a chart, though. Let's put up a chart of Apple
Okay.
before we go there, and just take a look at, because it's close to. Here we go. Okay. Well, here's Microsoft. We got Microsoft up already. Okay. Can we take a look at Microsoft?
Yep.
So here's Microsoft, and this goes back. I mean, I was in the game back in the late. This is the hotline. We got the hotline. Okay. According to my it's right near its highs. So if the biggest companies are near their highs, are we going higher? I don't know. Let's take a look at Apple now quickly. Keeping
The trend would suggest that.
yeah. And what do we say about the trend?
You ride it.
The trend is your friend.
The trend is your friend. Oh, that sounds so much better than ride the trend.
Ride 'em, baby. I blew it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so look at Apple. Okay, well that's the peak. Can't really see it because I'm doing it in stealth mode. Look at this drop here. This is a market mover. Obviously, if the market's dropping precipitously like we saw back in the end of last year. But look at back here like this, and now we're up in here. The market, if these big ones go higher and start setting new highs again, I can assure you, you don't have to guess about the S&P 500. It's going to set new highs too, because $3 trillion. Like, I don't know what the total value is, but there's a lot of companies out there that you can add them up that don't come up to like, 100 billion. 10 $100 billion companies is 1 trillion. And 100 billion is a number that you can't, these numbers you can't comprehend.
Well, Amazon's one that everyone's talking about. You got their chart?
Yeah. I got a story about Amazon. I was going around.
In line with what we were talking about earlier, or what I was talking about about John Bolton, Amazon's making some, they're supposed to be kind of, I think they're being a little bit of a bully.
Well, the Justice Department now has agreed to send some people in to look at whether or not these people, Amazon, are actually hurting or trying to eliminate their competition.
Right.
which is antitrust, right? And if the Justice Department starts poking, they may split it up. You know, they may split this thing up because these companies are so big. You can't get around it.
Well, how do you split up some of these companies?
Well, they have different.
Some are others.
They have different segments of business, right? You do it by
Amazon's that big that it can be split.
Well,
but you look at someone like Facebook.
Well, you know what?
How do you split up a Facebook? Maybe you don't.
Maybe you split it into the face and the book.
I like it. That's
Amma,
the simplest
Zon.
decision.
We split it into Amma, Zon. Look at this. This is Amazon. Now Amazon, wow. This is a 2-year chart, which is a good time frame. There's the high. We had a little test, a little bit lower, and then we've had. And you know, you can look at indices, stock indices, and a lot of these big ones, they're just mirrors of that. You know, it's risk on, risk off. And then we've tried, and look at here we are, another top here,
right,
which is just about right around there. So, you know, is this a major top? If it's a major top for Amazon, it may be a major top for Microsoft and Apple too. Like, you know, I think there's some. They're not going to all. You know, one's not going to go to zero, and the other one's going to go to the moon. I don't think. So those are your 3 big ones, and there's others as well. Like you mentioned, you can mention the other FANG stocks like Facebook and Netflix is in there, and Google.
And Netflix is having a hard time, I think.
Yeah, I
still watch it myself.
You know what? Look, the company sizes. Some of these companies in the U.S. are just so large. It's hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
Different
game altogether.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we take a look at O? You want to pull them up? We had someone in the chat room. Canna Royalty.
OH.
OH.
That's like the short form for Ohio. Maybe we're going to Ohio.
Like O Canada. I think that's what they were going for.
OH space CNX. Origin House. Used to be called Origin House, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, 878. Okay, that's had a last few days here.
Canna Royalty is what it used to be called.
Yeah.
Now it's Origin House.
Now it's okay. Well, you know what? Let's stick with the present here. Okay.
Agreed. The present is the best place to be. Living in the now.
Living in the now. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so let's take a look. This company, this is one of the best performing. Look at the 200-day moving average line. In case you can't see it, but that's moving up. Now it's backed off here at the top, but I mean, this is one of the few companies that's moving from bottom left to top right. We've looked at a lot of marijuana stocks the last few days, and there's a lot of them, like the major, like the ETF.
Yeah.
So here we go. So we've now broken that line, which is not a good thing. Look at here we hit the line, we rallied back to the 200-day moving average. 200-day moving average. It's a key moving average that's used by a lot of technical people. We broke below it. Now we've run to it. Now are we going to do a series of down and correct back to it? We're going to do the opposite of this? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. You know, because this is unusual. This is something we haven't seen in this company where we've breached the 200-day.
It's so hard to guess.
You know what? I mean, technically, I would say right now the trend is up. Is the 200-day going to be hurting us here? Anything else you want me to look at, young fella?
Let's just take a look at Aurora, if you can pull that up.
It's ACB, right?
ACB.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that since you got me on a roll here?
Yeah, just take and maybe
ACB.
if we have a few minutes.
ACB, it's like learning to spell, to do the alphabet, right? ACB.
Yeah, if you smoke too much, that's how you spell it.
Yeah, how about that?
The old ACBs.
Okay, here we go. ACB. And that's a 2-year chart, Aurora Cannabis. Okay. Wow. So roughly 2 years ago, there's the peak, and that's around $15, it looks like. We did it again there. That's, I think, around legalization. We've had a correction, but this looks like, I got to tell you, this chart doesn't look. I'm not sure which way this is gonna get resolved. But there's the moving average line, the 200-day again. It's sort of flattened out here. This high, this rally ended below this one, but it looks like this drop is ending above that one, which is above that one. So, maybe we got a bit of a pennant here. In case you guys don't play baseball, pennant. That's what a pennant looks like.
Yeah.
See that? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking let's take a quick look at the
Whichever
indices.
way it resolves, that's where you want to go.
You want to take a look at the Midas Letter indices?
Let's do that quickly, and
then we'll wrap up.
Then we'll wrap up, okay?
Just see what those averages look like.
The big one again is the big index is up, and the other three are down. Just like yesterday.
Just like yesterday.
I gotta catch my what?
You got to catch a train?
QA?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Ed. Appreciate it. And we'll see everyone tomorrow.
Okay. See you tomorrow.